Hey everybody, in this episode you're going to learn about Magnaplay as well as the localization services for gaming. So Magnaplay is a YC company and they are revolutionizing how indie developers can localize, aka translate their games in multiple languages using AI. If you want to learn more about the industry and are excited as we are about the latest technology, listen to this podcast. We really enjoyed it and hope you do as well. So Magnaplay is actually, as Mark mentioned, in a batch of Winter 2023 of Y-Combinator. So we already talked about Y-Combinator in other podcasts, but for those who don't know, YC is the best accelerator in the world. Airbnb, Reddit, and plenty other companies came from there. And what makes Magnaplay so interesting, especially for indie developers, is that right now, as an indie developer, if you want to translate something, you just have to, go on Fiverr, Upwork, because, you're on a budget, and then you have to translate it, right? So you have to find somebody who does translation work. First of all, you make sure that you trust that person, right? Because if you translate badly, that's horrible. I mean, you could use some Google Translate, whatever, but if it's a voice, it makes it so much harder, and that's where Magnaplay comes into play. So, Mark, what is Magnaplay's value that they're offering?
So basically, they're offering a translation and localization service with a 92% accuracy direct off the gate. You can then, I think you can define the algorithms better and then it has more accuracy, which is but already pretty amazing if you have 92 right off the box and will translate the game in within minutes, which is pretty cool, especially since, and for a very low price, they say. I have no idea how expensive it is, but it's super cool, which enables a much smaller subsegment of developers, especially indie developers, who do not have a lot of money to use the service and then offer this story-rich games to other gamers.
For me, I think what it might be more interesting, especially if you're a developer, you don't want to potentially deal with other people that are not in your team, right? So, for example, as soon as you're working with people on Fiverr, etc., it's just like a lot of management that you have to do, and you always just you text, then you get an answer, etc.
Oh man, the struggle is real, and honestly, the communication always sucks. Kind of, you're like, hey, can you do this, do that? So that's spending a lot of time on that, and people don't have that time, right?
Exactly, and especially if you're an indie developer, you'd rather do it yourself, or at least you have it in your own hands. And with this tool, with Magnaplay, you can do that, right? So AI will directly translate it. I don't know how good it actually is, but I want to talk a little bit about the market size because I was like, man,
yes,
localization. I'm like, that is super interesting, but I want to know how big it is, right? So I found a study that, market research, and in 2020, the market size for gaming localization was over 1.1 billion, and it's been growing year over year by 14.3%, right? And by 2027, it should reach over 2.3 billion, if I'm not, 2.1 billion by 2027. So it's growing very rapidly, especially for indie developers, right? So that is why I think it's a really, really cool tool because it's now disrupting it, right? So Mark, why is now the time for such a startup?
Well, I think now that we have all these LLMs which enable directly translating very well and out of context, so you know the context, so you can give it more context. I saw on Magnaplay as well, there was an example with a bat, like be careful of the bat. And then it's like, hey, are you talking about the animal or are you talking about the toy? Well, or sports good. So anyways, super cool. So you can adjust that, make sure out of context, you translate it properly, and you have that, which I like a lot because the translation of bat in English is the same, bat, but in other languages it's not the same, right? So it's super good and very helpful. I think that's why right now this is the great opportunity because there are so many developers as well. It's crazy.
To jump in there, the reason why I think right now is the time to actually have started like this, because of right now, before it was like, how could you do translation, right? Yes, you could have the subtitles quickly translated. That's one thing. But now you can also have voice, right? Now with AI, you can create fake, like deep voices. Well, deepfake voices or just like in general AI created voices, and then you can give your characters directly voices. Like might be an anime character or like the I don't know the sexy agent or whatever it may be. You can just create a voice, and you don't have to hire people for this. So I think this is really really cool, and gives indie developers a lot of tools, right? Because
Well, we always talk about indie developers, but honestly, it's for any kind of developers, right? It could be also be for bigger ones, depending on how you brand it, etc. And in times where they can cut costs, it's always fantastic because they can decrease the size of the team, right?
yes and no. I agree with you, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but imagine Halo, right? You don't want to Master Chief. You don't want to just like have a random voice. You want to keep that because at the same time you associate a certain voice with a certain character, right? So
Yeah,
that's where
but you're
bigger
talking about
developers.
the Master Chief, but there's other characters who don't have lines, for example. All
Yeah.
right, let's say not Master Chief, but let's say, for example, Final Fantasy, right? They
Yeah.
usually don't have language, they don't speak in there, but there's a lot of written text. So there's a lot of written text in there, you can do that. You're always going in the voice route, but I think you're missing the text route because in World of Warcraft, etc., like there's a massive, like so many text written, it's crazy, right? And then you can enable different market segments in terms of different countries and languages.
Agree. No, for that is really, really nice. But my point was more, why is now the time for this, right? And especially with the voice, I think that makes a huge difference. That makes it so much easier. For that's
I think the time was always there. It's just now has the technology has caught up, right? That's what
Yeah.
I believe. So
Agree.
that's fucking awesome. All right, though, Lucas. So we already talked a little bit about why it is cool. I mean, the USP we already have discussed, I think. Or is there anything else you have on the USP side, unique selling point?
No, I think this is already like if it's like five times faster and half as expensive, I think this is already a really good USP because in the end, YC's mantra is always build something that's 10x better. As well, what people love, obviously, a product that people
Okay.
love.
Then I have to the next one, Lucas, competition. So I found Ulatus. It's already in the show notes. And they're doing something very similar. I mean, the website does not look as clean as the other one. It seems a little bit, I don't know, I don't want to see it at early 2000s, but they already have clients. I mean, they already say they're using this technology is used in Roblox, Solitaire, Minecraft, just to name a
Right.
few. So
But
kind of interesting.
there you have to also
Zelda.
differentiate, right? Oh, Zelda, that's cool. But I think you also have to differentiate between Minecraft and Roblox in that case, because these are like community-run servers, right? So you can have. It doesn't mean that entire Minecraft or Roblox is running and using them. It's more that you can have local servers or servers hosted with multiple languages, and that's when they use the localization feature. So I wouldn't. That doesn't mean it has to be that, but I think it's super super cool and interesting for sure.
So
Mhm.
go ahead.
No, it's for me. It's interesting to see that they have it, but the website is just it's not that
it's not
gamey.
that great. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not that
I
great.
like the other one more, to be honest. This one could be out of the 2000s.
I'm giving
But-
the edge to Magnaplay, but I think it's super interesting because as more and more people find out about this or know about this, I think this is going to be a more competitive space. So I think this is super early. I didn't find anyone else who did the competition in terms of AI direct competition, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, otherwise localization is way bigger than market, right? Because it's like
100%.
for media, social media, etc. That's like becoming more and more trendy. Coming back for me right now, as we can, well, while we go more into detail with all the AI tools, you can see that it clearly forms the second generation of these tools, right? I mean, this one also combining now voice with also LLM, which is super super cool, which I really like. Talking about this, Mark, a little bit off topic, but should I show you how you can create with ChatGPT a video?
Yes, but not in this episode.
Alrighty.
But
Alrighty.
Lucas, future outlook. How do you think it's going to work out? How is it going to work? How is it going to play out for Magnaplay? How is it going to work out in the industry of translation / localization, specifically for games?
I mean, I hope it works out the best for them, obviously. In general, I like the field because as soon as you can automate these processes and you don't have to work with like freelancers, and you can just optimize it, that's always the best, right? Translation gets better each day. Just look at Google Translate, right? 10 years ago it was completely well, not completely garbage, but if it wasn't one of the main languages, you had big problems there. And now it translates perfectly, well, almost perfectly.
I think I agree as well. I think it's gonna be amazing. I think this is gonna grow very, very rapidly. I have high hopes for Magnaplay. I think they're gonna do very well. I think in general, this is what we're gonna see in the games, that this is gonna be more and more adapted, like similar to Weglot in Webflow, where you had before you had to do manually translation all like your website in different languages, but now through Weglot you have that directly automated, which is super cool, super helpful, and you have less errors.
Question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they will bring out, because like talking about Weglot, right? So Weglot charges per website opens, right? So idea of business model. So Magnaplay, will they charge as like a fixed fee, right? So for translation, or is it actually per user per month, right? So
I don't. That would be amazing, but I doubt that. I doubt that they can pull it up. Well, if they could pull it up, would be amazing.
yeah,
Because
like,
if you have an indie game that's all of a sudden popping up like crazy, super cool, great opportunity. But
I mean, at the same time, it's also can be good for indie developers, right? Because indie developers tend to be like strapped on cash. They don't have that much cash. So imagine you can say, hey, we can offer it very cheaply, but then the more users you have, the more also will be the billing, right? Because in the end, the translation, if it's, for example, you launch in the US, and then you're like the game explodes in Brazil, so you have Portuguese, and then for each translation you charge an X amount, right? Well, even though it's just translated once, but you can charge for this. I think that might be an interesting model that I've seen like more with like Weglot, etc., with all the translation services.
might be
Not
hard
sure.
to pull off though, right? Because you don't know how would they measure that? Because I think with the websites you can measure traffic more better, right? Because the other ones, the servers are private.
Mark, I mean, we've been working in the gaming industry, so we know everything is trackable. You just get like amplitude in there.
Sure.
There's a way, but it would be an interesting business model, or at least
Hard to verify as a third party. That's
Yeah,
my point.
exactly.
Hard to verify.
Yeah, that's true. But I thought it might be super, super interesting.
I like it. I like the twist that you put on there, Lucas. That might be an interesting business model.
But yeah, I think, Mark, that's a pot.
All right, let's summarize then. All right, Magnaplay is doing translation services for indie games or general games. Super cool. I think they're going to have a great future. They're going to do well. This market is already over $1 billion. And what did you say, 2027 is about going to hit 2.1 billion market size?
Exactly.
So let's fucking go. Good job there. Keep it going, Magnaplay. You got this.
All right, guys. Catch you next one. Peace.
Peace.